Last night I'm sitting there and I get a video from Eric Bugenhagen. It was a short video and he talked about wall sits. I don't know if some of you guys have seen it. Watch the video and Eric is funny, man. He always gives me a laugh, man. His energy is just so unique. Anyway, it's like 9:30 at night, so I get up, walk over to the wall, and I end up doing 2 minutes. Brutal 2 minutes of my life. I ended up doing lots of those. And of course, it got worse and worse as I went along. But the reason why he inspired me, the reason why I tried it was because back in the day, like during basketball days, we don't do any strength and conditioning here in Australia, man. Like at junior levels, we just run laps, run suicides, run on sand dunes. That's it, we just run. It's completely different to what I see in America is happening. People are cleaning and power cleaning like at 12 years old. We never do any of that. But we did wall sits, push-ups, that kind of thing. And I remember back then, like it was shaking like a leaf, So last night I'm shaking and I get up and my quads are pumped, absolutely pumped. And I'm like, man, I start thinking along the lines of isometrics again. I'm thinking about holding positions. Do they have a place in strength training? All of these types of things, just brainstorming. You know how I am, man. Like no matter what, I'm always kind of thinking about it. But anyway, this morning I wake up and my quads are fatigued. I don't have DOMs, but they feel jelly. So I got to do my squats, and obviously I'm not as good as I would have been if I didn't do the wall sits. And I put the bands on and I start squatting. I work up to, I hit a 200 kilo back squat with the bands. Again, feeling absolutely awesome. No issues at all. I get down to 190 and I do 5 singles. I was going to do a set of 160, but because I taxed myself last night, I decided not to do that. The endurance stuff. But it got me thinking, throughout the whole session, I'm thinking about all the things that we could possibly be doing and about the feedback that we get from the body when we do certain exercises. Some exercises we feel really, really good in the quads. Some feel really good in the triceps. And then we ask ourselves, is that going to transfer over to what we're trying to do? Squat, bench, and deadlift, or ollie lift, or whatever. And I kind of started like thinking about all the things that I've done in my time that felt freaking amazing for a given muscle. But then you come back to a lift and it feels as though like maybe marginal, maybe like a slight benefit of doing that. And then I start thinking about all the thoughts that I have that are distinguishing strength, performance athletes to bodybuilders. Just because you feel a muscle is working doesn't mean it's going to be beneficial for you when it comes to the squat or the deadlift or whatever. So the idea here is that specificity when it comes to sports performance or athletic performance is by far the most important. We can all think of examples of people who are very, very large, muscle-wise, but they're not good movers. They are not explosive. A guy that has absolutely jacked back, glutes, quads, all that might not have a really good jump. There are people that are like that, but those people spend a lot of time performing real movements. And so when we're talking about this stuff, I'm not saying that doesn't have a place. Wall sits don't have a place. Certainly they have a place. Everything has a place. But in terms of your economy of training, where you spend your time. So you could spend a whole bunch of time doing wall sits, or do you get another few sets of 190 kilo singles? What is more beneficial? What is going to carry over more? Where do you want to spend your resources? And that always crosses my mind. And that's why I always go back to the same idea of specificity. Now, if we're talking about exercises which are giving you health, like the rotation of the wrist that I'm doing and then this band, there's no conversation about that. You overdose on that as much as you want. You could spend the entire economy, the entire training time that you have on that, because that is legit allowing you to do the actual specificity. But doing stuff like where we are aimlessly just doing reps for the sake of doing reps, triceps this way, that way, whatever. I just keep thinking to myself, is there a better way? Is there a better way to actually get better at a movement? Now I understand strength and conditioning does not have to be specific for our sport. You know, the whole idea is that, you know, baseball throwers, they don't start throwing dumbbells around, and, you know, that's not going to carry over to them throwing the ball better. Like, you know, specificity taken to that extent is silly. I understand strength and conditioning aspect of it, but okay, can we get the strength and conditioning aspect of it with the most specific type movement? Throwing a dumbbell does nothing to anybody. Like, it's just, that's taking specificity to stupid levels. Getting stronger in the squat, I don't know anything about baseball, in the deadlift and the bench press, maybe the overhead press, maybe the pull-up, that's going to produce more throwing power. So you can work on those. You know, the pull-up has got nothing to do with you throwing a baseball. So I understand that, but I feel like we should always think to ourselves, is there a more specific movement? Now, we are, like, I am not not anymore a basketball player or baseball player or whatever. I just want to lift, bench, squat, bench, and deadlift. And now ollie lifting. That's what I want to get good at. So then I ask myself, can I train the muscles involved in those movements in a very specific way? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And I know it gets, and I get in that, mental battle as well. You see Tom Platz, you see all these bodybuilders who are very good squatters, and you're like, okay, I need to do hack squats, I need to do lunges, I need to do this and that and the other. While all of that has a place, those guys' primary goal is mass. It's not essentially powerlifting. It's not performance. It's not, you know, strength, power. Again, if you had unlimited amount of resources, like some of these guys do through, you know, the things they take, okay, I understand. Do all of it. You know, spend 2 hours doing freaking powerlifting, and then come back that night and do 2 hours of bodybuilding. That's good, but I can't recover from a lot of that stuff. I don't have 6 hours a day to train. So, you know, the hour and a half, 2 hours that I have per day of training, some days I have more, some days I have less. I have to be very, very strategic in how I go about reaching my goal. I mean, my bench improved just from benching. And all the other stuff that I did was things that make me feel healthy when I'm benching. So if you think about your accessory exercises very specifically as in what's going to make me feel better, then I feel like we're in the right direction. That is, if you're interested purely on strength. If you're interested in getting shredded and bringing up the top of your pecs or improving your traps so you look better, whatever, that's a completely different ball game. Like, that's a completely different sport. It was interesting to me. Like, I kind of woke up this morning and I'm like, I'm gonna do my squats and then I'm gonna do my wall sits, and I'm like, are wall sits gonna do anything for me? Sure, the feedback I get is like a whole lot of burning through my quads, but is that actually what squatting is? Is it? I don't know. I don't know if wall sits will carry over. Just because an exercise hits the same muscle responsible for a movement that you want to get good at doesn't mean it's going to transfer, because muscles are not machines. There's like a neuro component to it. There's a coordination of firing. If you think about down to the cellular level of what the human body is, it's not these isolated systems that we think they are. They're very much integrated. The fiber contracts because the nerve tells it to contract. And the coordination of these contractions throughout the whole body is what gives you proficiency in movement. You getting humongous quads that have no idea how to fire under a squat, I don't know if that's the best use of your time. So if you had 45 minutes of doing wall sits or 45 minutes of doing, you know, squatting for a single at 90% or 85% or whatever, what is better? What is better use of your energy that you've consumed through food and the water you've drunk? What is the best way to go about it? And ultimately, I mean, these are some of the philosophies that attracted me to squat every day in the first place. This idea that, you know, specificity is the most important pillar of all physical endeavors. Specificity. What are we trying to build? If you're trying to build a race car, there's no point in having an air conditioner in the car. So let's take that out. Let's take all this stuff out and become very focused on our goal. So wall sits felt absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And this morning I didn't do them. I'm not doing them. I'm not going to do them. It was a moment where I kind of thought, and I kind of ran with the thoughts, and I thought, man, it's been a long time since I've done wall sits. Let me see. Incredible. My quads were spent. But is squatting a quad exercise? I don't know. It depends how you squat, how you move. And maybe that's a conversation that needs to be had as well. But I feel like your glutes, your adductors, your lower back, your core, some of these things are the limiters, for me at least. Certainly when I put this band on and I activate the side glutes and I activate more fibers of the glutes, the squat feels a lot better. My glutes, my hips feel a lot better. So do I need to spend 30 minutes on wall sits? I don't think so. Even though the response was fantastic. Like, wow, this feels incredible. And a lot of times isolation exercises do give us that feeling of, oh, this is incredible. Like this right here feels a lot better than squats because you feel quads. When I squat, I don't feel anything. I just feel a whole lot of warfare, the whole body. Like I feel the grip in my hands. I feel the freaking knurling. I feel my elbows. I feel my traps. I feel my abdomen is full of air. I feel tension. I feel blood pressure. I feel pressure in my hips, in my knees, quads, glutes. Like there's no one thing that, like, you know, when you take a nervous feedback to your brain and it's flooding with 100 million things, you don't really feel anything specifically. It's just, this is uncomfortable. But when you're doing bicep curls, it's a singular thing. You know, it's like the feedback is immense. It's kind of like wall sits. Quads, 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 quads. Nothing else is going on. It's kind of like, I don't know why I thought about this, but it's like when Khabib mounts you and he's like all over you. You don't feel anything. You just feel suffocation. You feel like you're being, you know, he's mauling you. You know, you don't feel anything specifically. It's just like, oh my God, that's what compound movements are. Anyway, that's how I think about it anyway. I think ultimately specificity is king. And ultimately, I think a lot of people go away from specificities because that specificity hurts them. I know that's the case for my squatting. If I started to squat every day and I never had any pain, I would be still just squatting. That's it. But I hit trouble. And I was like, okay, let's work around this. Lots and lots of different solutions, lots of different outcomes. But ultimately, I am specificity minded. If I could spend 2 hours every day just squatting to improve my squatting, I would do that. But I've worked out that that's not the path. You know, the body doesn't work that way. So if you're going to add an exercise, it better be with a very, very, very good reason, because your time is precious. Your time is precious and your recovery points are very, very precious. And you start deviating too far away and doing fluffy things just because I feel like you're wasting your time. That's if you have a specific goal. If your goal is to get fit and look good and whatever, yeah, whatever, man. Just get tired. You work your muscle in many different ways, attack it from all different directions, and you'll be okay. But if you're performance oriented, like when I watch the guys that are into like plyometrics and power training and jumping and basketball, sprinting, you know, everything they do, it's to improve a quality. You know, they don't sit there and willy-nilly just do stuff for the sake of doing it. It's like, no, like, will this improve my vertical leap or my 40-yard dash? Is that going to improve? If it's not, I ain't doing it, man. It's kind of like that. And I feel like we need to have that focus. I need to have that focus. And even last night, I kind of got thrown out of that focus because I thought, freaking Boogs, man. And he was talking about how cement his quads are. I'm like, I want to do that. But is contracting quads in the absence of glutes a good idea? Absence of core? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe that's something that you need. Maybe your knee hurts. Maybe you got knee pain. Maybe that's a great thing for me, for you. Like for me, the rotation. If you don't have problems with your freaking elbows, you don't have to do that. You need to do something else. Anyway, that's kind of what went through my mind. So my quads are spent. It's impacted my squatting. So I haven't squatted as well as I should have today because I did an isolation exercise. And so theoretically speaking, my glutes and my core and the rest of me is underdone because I've isolated something the day before. Anyway, appreciate you guys like always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.